I've had some trust issues since I was a kid, and it's all because of my mother, who didn't treat me very well. I grew up, I fully support myself and have a good job, and then I meet a girl I fell in love with, but I didn't immediately notice the red flags. Tony stormed into Rick's office as she typically did, neglecting the courtesy of knocking and entering without his invitation. Rick, engaged in a phone call, gestured with one finger to signal her not to disrupt him. However, she paid little heed and confidently strolled around his desk, seating herself squarely on his lap. Ignoring his attempt to maintain focus, she embraced him warmly, planting a kiss on his cheek. Rick Tony serves as my personal assistant, PA, and I must say she embodies every fantasy. I cherish her deeply and certainly appreciated the affection she bestowed upon me. Excusing myself from the call, I reciprocated with a kiss on her cheek. Tony, 8.5 months pregnant and as large as a house, would make any man proud, though I cannot claim paternity. Let me clarify. While I have been intimate with Tony numerous times, I am not the father. There are a couple of reasons why. Firstly, there's Gino Antonelli, Tony's husband. Gino, standing at about 6'3" and weighing roughly 240 lbs, commands respect in more ways than one. He holds a significant position and influence, being the production manager at my advertising firm, as well as my closest friend. Believe me, no one dares to cross Tony with Gino around. The second reason is Tony being my foster sister. When I was 5, her family adopted and raised me. I won't delve into the specifics of why I was adopted, but my first 5 years weren't easy and I faced challenges. During my initial years with the Castile family, I felt insecure and frequently sought comfort by sleeping in the same bed as Tony for safety. We were of similar age and disposition, and over time we developed a strong bond which persists to this day. While I've referred to Gino as my best friend, I believe it was actually Tony first, followed by Gino. Anyway, let's return to the narrative. My name's Richard Castile, though most people call me Rick or Castile. I'm the proprietor of the Castile ad agency, and as previously mentioned, Tony serves as my personal assistant while Gino is our production manager. We have around 25 other employees handling various roles. Our agency holds a strong reputation in the industry, boasting numerous successful ad campaigns in the past, and presently running several highly effective ones. Financially, we're stable, which benefits both myself and all my employees. After wrapping up my call, I planted a kiss on Tony's cheek. "How are you feeling, babe?" I inquired. She flashed her lovely smile and replied, "Oh, Ricky, the baby's incredibly active today. It's moving around so much that finding a comfortable position to stand or sit is a challenge. I'm relieved that we're nearing the end. I can't wait for little Ricky to join us, though the prospect of childbirth does make me a tad nervous. But considering millions have done it before, I'm confident I can handle it too." I rested my hand on her swollen belly and felt the movements she had been describing. It was truly exhilarating to feel the baby's kicks. They were definitely expecting a boy. I saw the ultrasound myself and there was no mistaking it. And they both wanted to honor me by naming him Ricky. Tony added, "I just wanted to remind you that I've arranged for you to meet the temporary replacement while I'm on maternity leave. Please make sure you're available at 4 p.m. and allocate at least half an hour, okay?" I replied, "Tony, I can't imagine finding someone who could fill your shoes adequately." She chuckled and retorted, "Don't think for a second that anyone is replacing me, pal. Remember the word temp? Remember fill in? There won't be any replacing going on. Her name is Kate Becker, and she seems to be quite capable. So don't worry, the work will still get done." Tony stood up from my lap and walked, yes, I said walked, back out of my office in an adorable manner. I always admire the beauty of pregnant women, even though they might not see it themselves. I suppose it's the radiant glow on their faces that captivates me. In any case, Tony was stunning. At 4 p.m., Tony knocked on my door. Imagine that. and when I welcomed her in, she was accompanied by a young woman. Tony made the introductions. Rick Castile, this is Kate Becker. Kate, meet Rick Castile, the company's owner. Naturally, I rose as they entered my office and extended my hand. Pleasure to meet you. Do you go by Kate or Miss Becker? She replied, Nice to meet you too, Mr. Castile. I prefer Ms. Becker. I smiled, then turned to Tony and quipped, Well, Tony, why don't you make your way to the lunchroom and show Kate how to prepare my coffee? Kate, I take it with cream and a teaspoon of sugar. I noticed a flicker of irritation in Kate's eyes, but chuckled inwardly, maintaining a composed expression externally. In the hallway, Kate turned to Tony and expressed her doubts. Mrs. Antonelli, I'm uncertain if this situation will be successful. Despite my request to be addressed as Ms. Becker, he continued to call me Kate. And then to give orders so soon? It seems there might be a personality clash that I'm not sure I can handle. Maybe it would be best to find someone else. Tony chuckled in response. Don't worry, Kate. I've known Rick for a long time, and trust me, this is just a trial. Just go along with it, and you'll see everything will turn out fine. The two women returned to the lunchroom, where Kate proceeded to pour Rick a cup of black coffee. Tony raised an eyebrow and asked, What are you doing? Rick specifically asked for cream and sugar. Kate replied with a smirk, Yes, I believe he did. I think perhaps I'll play along with his little test. While returning to Rick's office, they conversed and shared laughs. Kate set the coffee in front of Rick, remarking, Here's your coffee, Mr. Castile. Rick tasted it, a frown appearing on his face. Well, Ms. Becker, this interview ends here. It was a pleasure meeting you. Goodbye. Tony and Kate were taken aback and attempted to respond, but Rick dismissed them, ushering them out with a, Goodbye, ladies. As they reached the door, he added, Oh, and Kate, I'd rather go by Rick than Mr. Castile. And just so you know, I prefer my coffee black. See you tomorrow morning. Exiting his office, both Tony and Kate simultaneously muttered, What a jerk, though they chuckled as they departed. Tony remarked, You might never get used to him, but he's not all bad. The following morning, Kate popped her head into my office and greeted, Good morning, Rick. Would you like some coffee? I chuckled, replying, I'll join you for a stroll there and we can both grab some. I figured if I let you handle it, there'd be cream and sugar. They shared laughter as they walked to the break room. We can quickly go over the coffee customs here. If you're grabbing coffee for yourself, feel free to bring me a cup too. If I'm with clients, it's courteous to offer them coffee and refills periodically. If you're occupied, I'll handle my own coffee, but I'm happy to get you a cup if you'd like one. Kate, I noticed a certain spark in your eyes yesterday, so I decided to put you to the test, and you exceeded expectations. I don't want a passive, overly accommodating assistant. I need someone who can advise me and fix any mistakes I might make. Your opinion is always valued and considered, but once I've weighed all the information and made a decision, it's final, and my responsibility. I'm confident we'll work well together, Kate. Please don't take yesterday's challenge personally. I just wanted to see your mettle, and I was impressed. She simply smiled. Now let me introduce you to Kate. She's quite tall, around 5'10", and on the heavier side, let's not mince words, she's overweight. She doesn't fit the conventional standards of attractiveness. Her facial features aren't classically beautiful, and her hairstyle doesn't accentuate her looks. Combined with her unflattering choice of clothing, it's unlikely she catches many men's eyes. However, from the moment I first saw her, there was something in her eyes that captivated me. Over the following weeks, I came to see her as a truly beautiful person. Kate served as an invaluable personal assistant, infusing brilliance into every project she touched. She accompanied me to meetings, providing insightful feedback afterward. We shared dinners and occasional out-of-town trips, always with separate accommodations. Although our relationship was strictly professional, over time, we developed a strong friendship. Despite my growing feelings for her, I recognized the potential complications of a romantic involvement with an employee. Anticipating Kate's departure at the end of Tony's maternity leave, I entertained thoughts of pursuing a romantic relationship with her, albeit realizing the potential folly of such actions. However, my plans were disrupted when Tony requested an additional 12 weeks of leave. This meant Kate would remain with us for another 12 weeks. While conflicted about the complexities of workplace romance, I couldn't help but feel grateful for her continued presence. What I ultimately decided was that I needed to adjust my personal beliefs and pursue her romantically, despite her being an employee. I rationalized it somewhat by considering her temporary status. I invited her to dinner one evening without any professional pretext, and she agreed. Over the following weeks, Kate began to take more care of her appearance, and one day she approached me in my office, asking for a private conversation. Naturally, I agreed, and she opened up to me. "Rick, I sense your affection for me, and I reciprocate those feelings. However, I feel insecure at times about my appearance. I've noticed how some clients look at me, questioning why you're with me." I smiled warmly at her and reassured. "Kate, you're absolutely right. I adore you just the way you are. But if you're not content with your appearance, let's take action. You know I jog almost every day. Why not join me? We'll start at a comfortable pace, and before you know it, you'll shed some weight and get into shape. We can also hit the gym together to tone up even more. Remember, I love you just the way you are, but if enhancing your confidence and well-being is what you want, I'm all in, baby. Let's do it. Consider updating your wardrobe, trying a new hairstyle, maybe even considering cosmetic procedures." When I suggested that, she jokingly smacked me and we both chuckled. "But seriously, Kate, if there's any procedure you're considering, I'll support you financially. Just know, my love for you won't increase because of it." And she did everything we discussed. Within 2 months, she had shed a significant amount of weight, committed to rigorous workouts, and transformed her hairstyle. Yes, she opted for some minor cosmetic enhancements, but nothing extreme. Others started to see her as a stunning woman, but to me, she remained the same woman I fell in love with. She was beautiful in my eyes, regardless of any changes. She was still my Kate. In early August, during a company picnic at a local park, I seized the moment to propose to Kate. As I knelt down, I asked, "Kate, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" The mixture of her smile and tears gave away her answer before she even spoke. "Yes, Rick, I will be your wife." Kate took charge of planning our wedding, with some input from me. However, as many of you may know, the 3S principle, shut up, shell out, and show up, typically applies not only to the father of the bride, but also to the groom. Consequently, most of the planning happened without my direct involvement. Thankfully, Tony, who shares a deep connection with me, played a significant role, ensuring that many of my preferences were communicated. Everything was going smoothly until the unexpected problem arose, like the fly in the ointment, or in this case, the fly in the perfume. Kenny Pierce, a marketing representative from Corone Enterprises Inc., a perfume manufacturer, came to Chicago to collaborate on a new advertising campaign. I didn't particularly like Kenny because of how he had shown interest in Tony the last time he visited town. Gino promptly intervened when he noticed Kenny lingering around Tony. His imposing presence made Kenny retreat completely. So you can imagine my surprise when I discovered that Kate actually knew Kenny and, much to my dismay, admired him greatly. It turned out they had attended high school together and then the same university. Kate confided in me that she had always harbored feelings for him. During their school days, he hadn't paid her any attention because she wasn't considered attractive at the time. But now, to my astonishment, all he seemed interested in was pursuing her, and she was reveling in every moment of it. After work, Kate and I went out for dinner, and I mentioned how much attention Kenny was giving her and how she responded to it. She got upset with me and told me to stop being self-centered. She said, "Kenny's only here for one more day and I'm enjoying his company, so deal with it, Rick." When she told me to deal with it, I sensed trouble ahead. The rest of the meal was pretty tense, and after we finished eating, she said she just wanted to go home. So I happily dropped her off and headed to a nearby dive bar for a couple of drinks. I'm not a heavy drinker, so no, I didn't get wasted, but I wanted to. I wasn't thrilled about the situation, but I decided to go along with it because she was right. Kenny would be gone by noon the next day, Friday, and that would be the end of it. Around 10 nauseous, steam. Kate came into my office and closed the door behind her. She sat down and said, "Rick, I'm not sure how to say this. Kenny is leaving for Las Vegas today for the weekend, and he's asked me to go with him." I must have looked shocked because she continued. "I know it sounds strange, but I've always wondered what it would be like to be Kenny's girl. Rick, do you love me enough to let me do this? Just one weekend and then I'll be all yours." My immediate reaction was, "Kate, let me make sure I understand this correctly. You want to spend a weekend with Kenny, a guy you had a crush on in school, a guy who never paid any attention to you when you were overweight and plain, and now that you're beautiful, he can't take his eyes off you. And you want me to approve of this? You're willing to jeopardize a relationship with a man who loved you then and loves you now for who you are, not how you look. Is that what you're asking me to approve? Rick, it's not like that. I just feel like I need to do this so I won't always wonder what I missed out on. Can't you understand that? Don't you love me enough to let me do this?" "Kate, I'm pleading with you not to go with him. Please don't do this to us. I love you enough to let you go if you truly feel you have to. But do you love me enough not to go?" "Okay, you said you love me enough to let me go, so I'm going. But when I come back, I'll make you the happiest man on earth. That's it? I can't convince you not to go?" "No, I'm going." "Well, if you're going, at least have the decency to give me back my ring. I don't want my fiancé sleeping with some jerk while wearing my ring." She looked shocked and hurt and pleaded, "Oh, Rick, please don't make me give you the ring, please. If you're going with him, give me the ring." Her eyes sparkled like lightning when I first saw her, indicating she was on the verge of losing control, but she managed to compose herself. She removed the ring and placed it on my desk without handing it to me, then stood up. "Fine, Rick, if that's how it's going to be. I'm leaving now," Kate said as she exited my office. As Kate walked out, I quietly murmured, "Goodbye, Kate. I hope it's worth it." She turned back, asking, "What did you say?" With deep sadness, I repeated, "I said goodbye, Kate. I hope it's worth it." A strange expression crossed her face, but she left the room, and shortly afterward, I watched her drive away from the building. Right now, I could fill countless pages capturing the whirlwind of emotions engulfing me. But I'll keep it brief. There's a spectrum from rage and anger to hatred, hurt, disappointment, sadness, despair, love, and vengefulness. You name it. I spent about an hour at my desk pondering my life, my love for Kate, my hate for her, and what actions I should take regarding her and Kenny. Once my pounding headache subsided, I placed 2 phone calls. The first was to Tony. "Hey, how's little Ricky? Is he awake?" I asked. Tony replied, "Hi, Rick. Ricky is doing great, and yes, he's awake. I'll put him down for a nap after lunch." "Tony, could you come to the office for about an hour? Bring Ricky along. I want to hold him. There's a situation here that I need to discuss with you. Whenever you can make it would be appreciated." She inquired about my well-being, and I confessed I wasn't okay, but we'd delve into that once she arrived. I made my second call to Luca Di Stefano. Gino isn't the only one with connections. Luca Di Stefano was also well-connected. Tony and my Uncle Bernardo were close friends with Luca's father, but more importantly, Uncle Bernardo had far more connections than any of us. "Luca, it's Rick Castile. I know it's been a while, and I apologize for not staying in touch. I promise to do better, my friend." After he scolded me and I expressed sincere apologies, he urged me to get to the purpose of my call. I couldn't help but feel like I'd been in the wrong. "Luca, I have a significant request to ask of you. My ex-fiancée, Kate Becker, is departing from O'Hare around 2 p.m. on a flight headed to Las Vegas. She's accompanied by a man named Kenny Pierce. I believe you can obtain the flight details and arrange for someone to tail them upon their arrival. Find out which hotel they'll be staying at and stall their check-in to allow enough time for surveillance setup. I want comprehensive documentation, photos, audio, and video of their activities and conversations until tomorrow around noon. Send everything to me via email early tomorrow afternoon. Afterward, I don't mind what you do with the material, but I want them to believe they're under constant watch. Make it appear as though you're working for Kenny's wife, Marilyn. Your task, Luca, is to disrupt the remainder of their weekend. No harm to anyone, but instilling fear is acceptable. Thank you, Luca. I'll ensure Uncle Bernardo knows of your assistance. When Bernardo's content, everyone is content. And Luca, inform me of the expenses, regardless of the amount. I only require the information by early tomorrow afternoon. I promise to express my gratitude properly once this is concluded. Farewell, my friend. I anticipate receiving the details soon." When Tony entered my office, I rose and closed the door. I embraced her and took little Ricky from her arms, holding him close. He was growing steadily, yet still felt like a small bundle to me. Planting a kiss on his forehead, I savored his softness and warmth. The realization that having a baby would be delayed hit me particularly hard, as it wouldn't happen as soon as I had hoped. A solitary tear trailed down my cheek, catching Tony's attention without a doubt. "Ricky, what's wrong, darling? Please share with me what's troubling you." I recounted the entire conversation with Kate to her, laying out all my thoughts. Tony's expression saddened, and she enveloped me in another hug, saying, "Oh, Ricky, I'm so sorry. What can I do for you? Could you dedicate a couple of hours each day for the next week? I just need help with some administrative tasks initially, and then we'll reassess as we go along." The remainder of the afternoon was spent strategizing for the upcoming week, making necessary calls to set things in motion. As the typical quitting time approached, I wrapped up my work at the office, though I did bring some tasks home, anticipating a busy weekend. On Saturday afternoon, Luca called to inform me that he had gathered all the requested materials and would email them shortly. I expressed gratitude and assured him we'd be in contact soon. I devoted several hours to reviewing the photos Luca had sent and carefully scrutinizing the accompanying video. While I fast-forwarded through certain sections, I paid particular attention to the intimate moments, which held surprising revelations. Taking care to print a few stills from the video for inclusion in my presentation, I also crafted a couple of brief clips for added impact. The remainder of the night was spent refining my presentation until it was polished to perfection. I went to bed feeling like I hadn't slept well, though I'm pretty sure I did catch some sleep. Early Sunday morning, I got up, gave the presentation a final touch-up, and spent the remaining time before heading to the airport gazing out the window. Monday morning, when Kate arrived at the office, she was surprised to see Tony there. "Tony, it's unexpected to see you here. Where's Rick? I tried calling him all night with no luck. His phone seems to be off too." Tony met Kate's gaze with a neutral expression and replied, "Hello, Ms. Becker." Handing Kate an envelope, she continued, "This is your formal notice of termination from Castile Ad Agency. Your temp agency has been informed as well. Thank you for your service." Kate was stunned and struggled to find her words. "What's happening, Tony?" "Ms. Becker, I was instructed by Mr. Castile to terminate your employment. I've already packed your personal belongings. They're in this box." She gestured towards a cardboard carton on the desk, then slid it over to Kate. Once again, Kate found herself stunned, declaring, "I'm going to talk to Rick and sort this out." "Rick's not available at the moment, so that's not possible. "And you'll need to leave the building now," Tony replied. "Where's Rick?" Kate inquired. "He's actually in New York presenting to Corone Enterprises Inc. here for their new advertising campaign," Tony explained. Kate was hit with another shock, her expression betraying her disbelief. "Rick and I were supposed to go to New York together for that presentation," she cried. "We planned to make it a special trip, just the two of us," she added tearfully. Though sympathetic, Tony remained composed. "Well, Ms. Becker, I suppose that was before your trip to Las Vegas with another man. Rick won't be back until Friday, and he asked me to schedule a meeting with you then. Would 4 p.m. Friday work for you?" Tate could barely muster a response. "Yes." "Very well. He'll see you at 4 p.m. Friday." Kate endured 4 miserable days awaiting her meeting with Rick. She attempted to reach him on his cell phone several times, but each call went unanswered, leading her to voicemail. Upon arriving in New York, Rick contacted Henri Corone to arrange a meeting at his hotel to unveil their new advertising campaign. He expressed a preference for a non-corporate setting due to personal reasons, and requested Henri to bring along his daughter Marilyn. Despite repeated calls from Kate, Rick ignored them, opting to send them straight to voicemail and subsequently deleting them unheard. As Rick began his presentation, he informed Henri Corone and Marilyn Pierce that he had 2 objectives for the meeting: to introduce what he believed to be a promising ad campaign, and to address a personal matter concerning Kenny, Marilyn's husband. The presentation took a significant turn for Kenny, as Henri Corone, the owner of Corone Enterprises Inc., was displeased to discover his son-in-law involved romantically with someone other than Marilyn. Marilyn herself was furious, though not entirely surprised given her suspicions about Kenny's infidelity. Nevertheless, having tangible proof now, she felt a sense of vindication. The advertisement featured several provocative images of Kenny and a woman. Despite the fact that Rick was unhappy with the photos, he appreciated the potential of the concept of the advertising campaign. He came up with the slogan, "Wear me and feel euphoric." "I suggest naming your new fragrance Euphoria, and these images convey that idea perfectly," he suggested. The woman depicted in the photos appeared to be euphoric. Henry and Marilyn were initially stunned to see Kenny next to an amazing woman, but they both recognized the splendor of the concept and its potential to promote a new fragrance. "Rick, you figured something out, and we appreciate your insight. The emotions conveyed by this woman are truly remarkable." Rick grinned and continued. "Now, I'm pretty sure you'll want to find a different male model for that role, since Kenny seems to be out of the picture. But consider this woman instead. She's stunning and exudes sensuality, as we can all see. Each person has their unique appeal, making it nearly impossible to replicate with someone else. No one can replace Andie MacDowell in L'Oreal commercials with "Because You're Worth It," or Kate Walsh in the Cadillac CTS commercial with "When you turn your car on, does it return the favor?" And Cindy Crawford in the Pepsi commercial is irreplaceable too. I believe this woman's look is exactly what we need for this campaign. I can provide you with her name and number if you're interested." Henri nodded. "Absolutely. If her look aligns with what we're aiming for, then she's perfect. Please, do share her contact details." Rick passed a note to Henri. "She goes by the name Allison Kendall. I'm not entirely sure if it's her real name, but that's what she's using. Her number is on the paper. And just so you know, she's a call girl. I'm not sure if she'd be interested, but a change of scenery and career might appeal to her. All you can do is ask." It wasn't Kate Becker in the pictures and videos with Kenny Pierce. It seems Kate reconsidered while they were en route to Vegas because upon arrival, they booked separate rooms, and all signs suggested she rejected Kenny's advances. Kate never slept with Kenny, but unfortunately, the damage was done. As the evening progressed, Kenny's frustration led him to hire a prostitute, who ended up in all the advertising campaign pictures. Luckily, Luca had kept surveillance on Kenny, resulting in some fantastic concept images. Hopefully, Allison will agree to feature in the ads, as she would be perfect for them. The specifics of Kenny's subsequent experiences aren't necessary, but rest assured he faced significant consequences. On Friday afternoon, Kate had a conversation with Rick. Rick, I'm confused about what's happening here. Why did you terminate my employment? I know you still need a PA, and Tony isn't ready to return yet. Please, Rick, I didn't sleep with Kenny, I swear. Kate, why should I believe you? After all, you went alone with him to Vegas. Rick, I'm telling the truth. I didn't sleep with him. You said you loved me enough to let me go. You're right. I did say that. But the problem, Kate, is that your idea of letting go differs from mine. You meant go to, but I meant let go of. Vegas and I intended to release you, to refrain from holding on to you. That's the distinction. Kate, I know you didn't sleep with Kenny, but it doesn't matter. The harm was already done. I loved you, Kate. Almost from the moment I met you, I began to love you. I loved you when you were overweight and unattractive. Your appearance didn't matter to me, but my love wasn't sufficient for you. You needed the approval of everyone else around you, so you lost weight, had some work done, and improved your looks to the point of beauty. I still loved you then, just as before. It wasn't about looks for me. It was about who you are. But the approval of others wasn't sufficient for you either. Then Kenny appeared and showered you with attention. You soaked it up. Here was Kenny, a guy you had known for over 8 years, who never once noticed you when you were your former self. And now he's fawning over you, and you fell for it. He didn't love you, Kate. He loved your appearance. I loved you, but my love wasn't enough. You asked if I loved you enough to let you go, and I said yes. But I also asked if you loved me enough not to leave. And by your actions, you answered that question with a no. You were going to leave no matter what. I even asked for my ring back, hoping it would jolt some sense into you, and you took it off and placed it on my desk. You were leaving no matter what. Kate, that's when the damage was done. That's when I realized I would never be able to trust you with my heart. That's when I knew I would never be enough for you. Something else would have come along that was more important to you than me. I won't live like that, Kate. That's why our relationship is over. Throughout the entire ordeal, Kate remained seated, stunned. Tears cascaded down her cheeks as she came to terms with her error, though the realization came too late. She implored Rick, "Rick, I'm deeply sorry. I acknowledge my grave mistake, but my love for you is sincere. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive me and grant me another chance?" Kate, there's no need for my forgiveness. You've always been free to make your own choices. I neither possess the authority nor the right to dictate your actions. You had the freedom to decide, and you did. But it wasn't me you chose. Your decision made it evident that I didn't hold the same significance for you as you did for me. When you placed the ring on my desk and left, I bid you farewell, hoping it was worth it. That marked the moment I released you. It's over, Kate. I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. But our chapter has concluded. In the months following, Kate attempted to communicate with Rick without success. He refused to engage. Despite Tony's anger towards her, Kate managed to maintain their friendship and discovered that part of the issue lay with Rick himself. For many, the knowledge that Kate had never been involved with Kenny could have paved the way for forgiveness and the continuation of a loving relationship. However, Rick's deep-seated psychological scars from his childhood prevented him from doing so. Tony revealed to Kate that Rick's mother had abandoned him after taking a lover, callously informing him of her departure without any emotional attachment. Rick's pleas fell on deaf ears as she left him for good, mirroring the abandonment he experienced when his father, devastated by his wife's betrayal, spiraled into alcoholism and ultimately died in a fatal car accident, effectively abandoning Rick as well. Left to navigate the foster care system, Rick was eventually adopted by Tony's family. It took years for him to trust that his new family wouldn't also leave him, a testament to the deep wounds left by his past. While Rick likely needed professional help to address his issues, He never sought it out. Kate wept profusely upon learning about Rick's ordeal. Her tears were not only for herself, but also for Rick, as she had recently walked away from him. She knew there was no way he could cope with the situation, no way to mend the damage done to him. Despite numerous attempts to reach out to Rick, Kate was unsuccessful. He never picked up his phone, and though she left several voicemails, he never returned her calls. Once, she even called him from a payphone, but as soon as he recognized her voice, he hung up. While she didn't exactly stalk him, she knew his routine, and occasionally, when feeling particularly lonely for him, she would go to watch him run or spot him at a restaurant, hoping for a chance to reconnect. During one early morning call, a woman answered Rick's phone, and Kate inquired about her identity. "I'm Rick's fiancée. Who's this?" "Please tell Rick that Kate called. Tell him I'm deeply sorry and that I won't bother him again." With that conversation, Kate lost all hope. She let herself go, gaining weight and neglecting her appearance, reverting to the unattractive woman she had been before meeting Rick. Occasionally, she'd catch glimpses of Rick and his new spouse, each encounter prompting her to retreat further into herself. It was when she saw them with their newborn that she collapsed inward, fading into obscurity thereafter. She functioned mechanically, fulfilling her duties, returning home, eating, sleeping, and working. Her transgression wasn't egregious. She hadn't betrayed Rick in the conventional sense. Unaware of his vulnerability, she still bore the consequences of her actions. Could Rick have pardoned her and salvaged the relationship? Perhaps, but our experiences shape us, and he had endured enough to render her actions unforgivable. She had left him, and for that she had to face the consequences, no matter how harsh.